Let's begin.
Welcome. I am the one and only MSJ, Max for short, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Before I get started, I need you to click subscribe, hit the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, and share this video because doing all those things helps me get my channel and videos out there to a much broader audience. And hitting that bell helps you stay informed when my videos go live on this channel. So doing all those things would mean a lot to me, and also meaning a lot to me if you go over to the 13th Wolfman. I am the Ice Lord, Carly 317, Double Shot J, Tony has 9 fingers, retro horror, random horror, so many others, and doing the exact same thing because we're all doing the exact same thing. 31 horror movies in 31 horror days, 31 reviews in those days. So we're all having a lot of fun. We're all doing various different ways. And for me, it is theme week number 3 with zombies. Now, like I mentioned, I'm kind of breaking my rule. What I set myself to do this year is that I'm covering days 15, 16, and 17. But the good thing is that they're all set in the same universe. So to me, it's like, okay, I can actually kind of feel justified by doing it this way. Just this once because work has just not been kind to me in giving my days off. So I'm really triple featuring it up for this video. So, in today's videos, I will be covering Seoul Station, Train to Busan, and as well as Peninsula. I'm just going to kind of give a blanket statement over like all 3 films, is that I really enjoy each and every one of these films. Some a little bit more than the other, but just overall, I have a lot of fun watching these. Especially if you watch them as a triple feature, I think it's a lot of fun to watch it that way because you got the Seoul Station is the kind of like the initial outbreak. You got Train to Busan is kind of like a few hours after the outbreak and leading into the day, and then you got Peninsula, which is set 4 years after the virus or zombie outbreak in South Korea. Or just Korea itself. So it's just, these movies are a lot of fun. So I'm going to jump into each one of these movies real quick and tell you what you need to know. And I'm going to start with Seoul Station. This is the animated feature of the bunch and where it kind of sets up what's to happen. You got this old man, he's homeless, and he's clearly hurt, and he has blood dripping down the side of his neck, and he's just trying to just walking. And people like go up to him to like, hey, do you need help? But he has a stench about him, and then they immediately like, oh, he's homeless, and they just kind of like, nope, we're not going to help him. But this old man, he has a buddy who's trying to get him help. And that's kind of like a plot of this movie. And then you got another plot of this movie where this girl and this guy are having some financial issues, and he's doing some stuff behind her back to kind of that isn't basically she's a hooker, and you learn that her dad is looking for her as well. It's like the dad gets a phone call, and it's like, hey, like, is this who this is? And I'm kind of curious as to how this guy found it, but it's like, but beforehand, but it's like, hey, so there's the B plot of this movie where this dad and the ex-boyfriend is trying to find this girl because they kind of split up prior to the outbreak. So, with all that covered, that's what this movie is about. Is like these two intersecting plot lines will connect at various points in the movie, and then things will just go awry, and they have to be split up again. And I really like this. It's animated. The animation, it does take a few minutes to kind of get used to, but once it kind of kicks in and you get a thrill for the ride, a feel for the movie and everything, you'll forget about it and just like focus on the story. And it gets really intense. There are some moments in this movie that are like, oh man, I even get really into it. And there's a scene in the movie where they're stuck in a jail cell. They've kind of cornered themselves, and one of the people that is with them is bit. And the zombies in this universe turn very, 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 very quickly. There's maybe 2 to 3 minute turnaround. You know, depends on where you're bitten. But some turn more quickly than others, which in Train to Busan, one actually kind of manages to not turn and kind of like use that to his advantage at the last moment. Oh, hi girl. But overall, Seoul Station is a lot of fun. It's just them trying to get back home, essentially, and they're going through underground railroads, train stations, and subways, and like across balconies using power line cables and everything, or like electrical cables or telephone wires, I should say. And so that, and like trying to survive, and she's teams up with this another homeless man, and that also kind of comes to kind of bite her. And then the dad and the boyfriend or ex-boyfriend, they have their own little problems along the way, and they're getting into it, and it's just a lot of fun. And there's a big twist in this movie that I was not expecting for this zombie movie, and it was a lot of fun. That I was like watching this, and then when she kind of reveals the big twist in the movie, it was just like, oh, wow, I was not expecting that. And it ends. This movie is only 90 minutes long, and it goes by quickly, because once the outbreak starts to happen, it just flies by. It really is. It does take a minute to get going. It takes a minute to get used to the animation, but once it gets going, you're on for the ride. So it's a lot of fun. So now that leads into Train to Busan, which is the best of the 3 films. And because this movie is intense and so much fun, and the plot of the movie is that this guy who's basically he's more at work than at home, and he's not really neglecting his daughter, but he's just not being aware and not being a dad. You know, the other side of the coin of being a dad. You know, he's more focused on work and everything like that. And he loves her, but he's just trying to make a life, you know, and everyone's kind of giving grief for it. And so that trope to me kind of bothers me, because but it can be a good trope and a bad trope at the same time. But in this movie, I think it works pretty well, because he does, like, okay, he's like, I'm going to be a dad. I'm going to give you what you want. And the daughter wants to go to Busan to see her mom. So that's how we get our characters onto the train. And then the train starts going, and then you get a few strays that sneak in, and that's how the zombies get in. And that's just fun. It's fun. It starts separating the cars into barricades, you know, and like it's like, oh, we can't go past this one, but there's people trapped past that one, but through zombies, and then you have to get further up to the where the conductor is, who I think is the most important person on the train, but you kind of forget about him, but until like the last 30 minutes of the movie, to be honest with you, and it's just a lot of fun. And there is not really a villain in this movie. There is one guy in particular who is just out for himself, but who wouldn't be in this outbreak? You know, he is literally trying to survive, and people are just like making things worse, and sometimes for the best and sometimes for the worst. Like there's moments where he is like yes, like you shouldn't have been doing that. Like, you could have helped them, saved even more lives, but you chose to put yourself first and get some of these people killed. But at the same time, he's also protecting a bunch of people by doing what he's doing. But so he's not really a bad guy, but he's not exactly a good guy either. So, but there are some really great zombie moments in this movie. When they finally get to their first stop, that's where they have to like kind of stop. And because after all this is kind of gone down, and so they get off and they see like, hey, something's not right, because they've only dealt with a zombie on the train, and then now they have to deal with like a horde of zombies, and it just gets worse from there, and they have to get back onto the train and move onto Busan, and oh man, that is a lot of fun, because that's when our cast starts getting separated. They were all in one car. Now they have to start move. Now they have to like go rescue people, and they use these particular zombies are blind when in darkness, and they immediately kind of shut down. They're still active. They can still hear really well, but they can't see you. So when they go through tunnels, those are some intense moments right there. And so they use that to their advantage and stuff like that. And just like, this movie is just so good. So that, which leads into Peninsula, which is the aftermath of it all. They've kind of quarantined off the peninsula of Korea, and they're like moved everyone off. There's a few people that are still there, but for the most part, you can't go there kind of thing. So, and basically there's like no one's there, but there is tons of cash that are still within the city. So this guy's like, hey, go get all this money and you'll get a share of it. And so they go in, and then things just start going downhill quickly. And then they meet this family who is there, and these two kids are really awesome. I think they're really good in the movie, and they use the noise when it's at dark to their advantage, with like bright lights and noise on this RC car, and they're just driving the horde away. That's awesome. I love that. And there is a kind of another plot that kind of goes throughout the movie, but I'm not going to reveal that. That's just something the viewer needs to experience. But it's a good movie. Peninsula is a good movie, but is as good as Train to Busan or Seoul Station. No, but if you just want more of an action zombie movie, this is it. It's more along the lines of like World War Z a little bit, but not the intense scenes when they're at the CDC kind of place at the end of the movie, but when they get into like Israel and stuff like that, I think that's where that's at, Jerusalem or wherever, where they're on the wall and stuff like that. That's kind of like how the zombies kind of feel in this movie a little bit. So just a little bit. I'm just trying to give you an idea. That's really all I want to say about this one. The action is really good in this movie. The action is even better in this one. But in Seoul Station, it's not as action-packed. It's more about the story. And that's kind of how it is with this one as well, Train to Busan. Because the first two installments are very story-heavily based. And then I think Peninsula is more action-y more than anything. So, those are my reviews for days 15, 16, and 17. I highly recommend watching these as a triple feature, but it's even just as okay to watch them individually over a few days. So, especially if you watch Train and Seoul Station back to back, that one works as a double feature, and then you can like watch Peninsula whenever. But if you have a whole day to kill, 3 movies right here. That's a high recommendation from me. And that's really all I have to say about the movies. I'm going to jump into my rating scale. 1 being run-of-the-mill horror, 2 best watched with the group, 3 more than average horror but adds nothing new to the horror genre, and 4 helps move the horror genre forward, and 5 being a horror classic. So for Seoul Station, I definitely gave it a 3. It's more than average horror, but it doesn't really add new to the horror genre. You know, we've seen fast zombies, we've seen really well directed dialogue scenes in zombie movies and in TV shows. But what makes it more than average is that it's you still feel a really good connection with the characters through animation. That's a feat of its own. That makes it more than average to me, and it's just really fun. And then Train to Busan, I say it's a 5. This is a really true modern horror classic, especially in the realm of zombie movies. It's you. There's not really a lot of originality in zombie movies anymore or TV shows. Like I think I just seen a trailer for the new Day of the Dead, and I'm like, how many times have you done this movie? Like besides the original one by George A. Romero. So Train to Busan is definitely a modern horror classic. Give it a few more years, I think it will definitely be a horror classic. But to me, it is a horror classic. And Peninsula, I say it's a 2. I think this one is definitely best to watch with the group because there is a lot of fun in this movie to be watched with a few group of people who aren't necessarily horror fans, but they will get into the action of it. So I think that's probably about it. So all 3 of these movies are very good in groups or by yourself. So I think these trilogy of films are good. So and awesome and intense. And I forgot to mention that there's a scene in this movie that is just like, it's really cool. So it's cut off at one end, but it's kind of a staircase, one of those kind of like the skyway walkways, you know, over highways and stuff like that. And it's filled to the brim. And the zombies are packed in there like they're like sardines, and they're just like they're not hostile because there's no reason to be, since it's like 4 years and they're just kind of like just moving around, and that comes into play later in the movie. And that's probably one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie, is when they do that nice callback. So that's a lot of fun. So that's kind of an actiony, very action heavy point in the movie that anyone can really enjoy. So that's really all I have to say about these 3 films. They are a lot of fun to watch, like I keep mentioning. And these are like foreign films, obviously, because they're set in South Korea. I like to watch them with the subtitles and with the natural Korean spoken language. And it's so much funner that way. It's so much easier to understand the movies and to really get into it. I'm not sure how well the translation is, but it's just you can still feel the movie through the actions of the characters, because like one character's pregnant, and like you get their looks at one another, you know, so you get that kind of stuff. So they are subtitled. And if you can get around that, these movies are for you for sure. So, and that is all. I am the one and only MSJ, Max for short, and all I can really say is thank you.